Laura Collins took a sip of coffee as she gazed out the window. From her apartment, she could see Chicago awakening, bustling with morning activity. The city's energy filled her with excitement. "Mom, I can't find my socks." Emma's voice called from the living room. Laura turned around with a smile. "In the bottom drawer of your closet, the pink ones are there." 6-year-old Emma was her everything. 3 years ago, after divorcing her husband James, they had started their life together in this small, modern, and cozy apartment. With interior design as her hobby, Laura had maximized the limited space to create a home for herself and Emma. Colorful paintings adorned the white walls, soft ambient lighting filled the rooms, and photographs of the two of them were displayed throughout. "Found them." Emma came running with a beaming smile, holding up her socks. "That's great. Let's have breakfast. Today's an important day." Laura worked as a marketing director at a prestigious advertising agency. Today she had an important presentation with a client and had been busy preparing. Balancing work and motherhood wasn't easy. She often stayed up late working on materials and woke up early to help Emma get ready. Yet she never showed her fatigue in front of her daughter, always maintaining a smile. "Mom, after school today, I'm going to paint the ocean," Emma said. Laura gently stroked Emma's blonde hair and smiled. "That's wonderful. You do love the ocean, don't you?" Emma Collins was a first grader at a public elementary school. Curious by nature, she particularly enjoyed reading books about animals and the ocean. After the divorce, James still visited once a month, and Emma looked forward to spending time with her father. Fortunately, the two parents maintained a friendly relationship, cooperating for Emma's sake. "Hey Mom, when are Grandpa and Grandma coming to visit?" Laura's smile froze for a moment at that question. "Well, Grandpa and Grandma live far away, so they can't visit very often. Maybe we'll see them at Christmas." In reality, her parents, Helen and Frank Watson, lived in a small town in Michigan, just a 2-hour drive away. Laura's relationship with her parents was complicated. Helen, a former high school teacher, appeared reserved and gentle on the surface, but in fact, she always agreed with her husband's opinions, masking her coldness like a facade. Frank had worked at a local bank for 35 years and was a man with strict, conservative values. In his eyes, Laura's independent life and career in Chicago had always been a source of displeasure. "Emma, get your bag. It's time to go." As Laura watched Emma dash out of the room, she sighed. Emma didn't yet understand the strained relationship with her grandparents. They only met a few times a year on special occasions, and even those times were tense for Laura. Laura had a sister named Christy. Unmarried and living near their parents, Christy worked at a local insurance company. She had grown up as her parents' favorite and always envied Laura's success in Chicago. Even in phone conversations, Christy's voice carried subtle sarcasm. "Mom and Dad talk about you a lot. Why don't you come back home?" she would say, though her voice never conveyed any genuine welcome. Laura kept visits to her childhood home to a minimum. Since childhood, she had been treated as the daughter who never met expectations, especially subjected to harsh criticism from her father. Moving to Chicago for college had been her way of maintaining mental self-defense by keeping distance from her family. When she got married, her parents didn't bless the union, calling it out of her league, and when she divorced, they coldly remarked, as expected. And now, they showed little interest even in their granddaughter Emma, sometimes forgetting to send birthday presents. "Mom, I'm ready." Emma's cheerful voice interrupted her thoughts. Laura regained her smile and took her daughter's hand. "Let's go, Princess." Emma continued to wish for a closer relationship with her grandparents. "I want to try Grandma's cookies," or, "I heard Grandpa is good at fishing," she would occasionally say. At such times, Laura tried to answer as cheerfully as possible, despite her complex emotions. Having overcome childhood trauma, Laura was determined to give Emma the love she herself had never received. Squeezing Emma's hand, she silently vowed, "I will never hurt you." On Friday, Laura was spreading documents in the glass-walled conference room at her office. Despite the air conditioning, beads of sweat formed on her forehead from the tension. "For tomorrow's presentation to Twilight Cosmetics, have these figures been verified?" her boss Martin asked, pointing to a section. Laura flipped through the materials while confirming the spot he indicated. The important client meeting tomorrow required weekend work. Normally she would decline, but this client was crucial for the company and could significantly impact her career. "Yes, I confirmed with the marketing department yesterday. There's no problem." Her phone rang, and Laura frowned. It might be Emma's school. "Excuse me, let me check this." Answering the phone, she heard the voice of Gina, their regular babysitter. "Laura, I'm so sorry, but I've had a fever since this morning. I don't think I can watch Emma tomorrow." Laura's heart sank. "Are you okay, Gina? Is there anything I can do to help?" she asked, while her mind raced thinking about tomorrow's schedule. Finding a babysitter on a Saturday at such short notice would be extremely difficult. "Don't worry. I think it's just a summer cold. You have it worse than me. I'm sorry." After hanging up, Laura held her head in her hands. She tried contacting friends, but everyone's weekend plans were already full. Emma's father, James, was away on a business trip and unreachable. The phone rang again. It was an unfamiliar number. "Laura? It's Christy." Laura was momentarily speechless at her sister's voice. Calls from Christy were rare. Could something be wrong? "Christy, what's going on? Is everything okay?" "Seems I called at just the right time." Christy's voice was strangely cheerful. "Mom and Dad are going to St. Joseph Beach on Lake Michigan tomorrow. They said they'd like to take Emma along." "Really?" Laura couldn't hide her surprise. It was unusual for her parents to express concern for Emma. "But I have important work tomorrow, so I can't go." "That's fine. I'm going too, and we'll all look after Emma." Christy's voice had an unusual warmth to it. "Besides, Mom and Dad have been saying lately that they want to get closer to Emma. How about this opportunity?" A conflict arose in Laura's heart. While she felt cautious about the sudden offer, she also hoped that Emma might have a good time with her grandparents. Above all, it would solve tomorrow's babysitting problem. "I do have an important meeting tomorrow," Laura said, carefully choosing her words. "If you can take care of Emma, that would be a big help." "Then it's settled. I'll pick her up at 9 tomorrow morning." After hanging up, Laura returned to her desk and pondered. This was the first time her parents and Christy had expressed a desire to spend time with Emma. It might be a good opportunity for Emma, a rare chance to build a relationship with her grandparents. That night, Laura told Emma about the next day's plans. "Emma, tomorrow you're going to the beach with Grandpa, Grandma, and Aunt Christy." Emma's eyes lit up. "Really? I get to go to the beach? Yay!" Seeing Emma's joy, Laura suppressed her own anxiety. "That's right. Mommy has to work, so I can't go with you, but I'll be back by evening. I'm going to build a sand castle." Emma jumped up and down. "And collect seashells. I'll bring them back as a present for you." Laura hugged Emma tightly. "Have fun. But be sure to listen to Grandpa and Grandma, okay?" After putting Emma to bed, Laura began preparing for the next day. She packed a beach bag with towels, a change of clothes, swimwear, sandals, sunscreen, a hat, a water bottle, and snacks. She also wrote down detailed instructions on a note. She didn't forget to mention Emma's shellfish allergy. The next morning, Laura woke up early to help Emma get ready. Here, remember to reapply this sunscreen every 2 hours. And if you get hungry, eat this sandwich. The doorbell rang, and Laura went to answer it. Her mother Helen, father Frank, and Christy were standing there. "Good morning, Laura," Helen smiled. Her expression was softer than usual. "Good morning. Please take good care of Emma," Laura said nervously. "This bag has everything she needs. Please apply sunscreen every 2 hours. And absolutely do not let her eat any of the foods on this list because she's allergic." Helen rolled her eyes. "Laura, we raise children too, you know. No need to worry so much." Frank honked the car horn. "We need to leave soon or we'll get caught in traffic." Christy took Emma's hand. "We're going to have a wonderful day." Emma waved energetically. "Bye, Mom. I'm going now. I'll bring back seashells." Laura hugged Emma tightly. "Have fun, Emma. Call me right away if anything happens. I'll definitely be back before dark." As she watched the car drive away, a wave of anxiety crossed Laura's chest. But she told herself she was overthinking and prepared for work. The client meeting ended earlier than expected. The presentation was a success, and it seemed the contract with Twilight Cosmetics was virtually secured. Her boss Martin patted her shoulder and said, "Well done." At 6 p.m., Laura dragged her tired body back to her apartment. She was looking forward to hearing Emma's stories. She felt relieved to see her parents' car in the parking lot. Turning the key and opening the door, she heard laughter from the living room. She could also hear the TV. But Emma's high-pitched voice was nowhere to be heard. "I'm home," Laura called out as she entered the living room. Her mother, father, and Christy were sitting on the sofa watching TV. Emma was nowhere to be seen. Laura's heart began to race. "Where's Emma?" "Oh, Laura. Finished work already?" her mother said casually. "Where's Emma? Where is she?" Laura looked around, wondering if Emma might be in the bathroom or kitchen. "Emma?" Her mother seemed to think for a moment, then suddenly widened her eyes and said, "Oh, I forgot." "How terrible." Her mother covered her mouth and began to giggle. Christy also burst into laughter. "I can't believe you actually forgot." The blood drained from Laura's face. "What do you mean?" Her father didn't look up from his newspaper, merely saying, "She was such a quiet child, I didn't notice." "What are you saying? Where did you leave Emma?" Laura shouted. Her voice was trembling. "At the beach, of course," her mother shrugged as if she had simply forgotten an item. "Everyone was tired, and we took our eyes off her for a bit before getting in the car. And then something broke inside Laura." "How can you laugh? You left a 6-year-old child alone at the beach." Christy crossed her arms and said, "You're being dramatic. Emma's a smart kid, she'll be fine." Laura grabbed her car keys with shaking hands. Her entire body trembled with anger and fear. "Are you all insane? What if Emma is in danger?" No one answered seriously. Her mother continued to smile. Her father flipped through his newspaper, and Christy looked at her smartphone. Laura rushed out the door and jumped into her car. Her hands shook so much she could barely insert the key. Her mind went blank with only Emma's image in her thoughts. St. Joseph Beach normally takes an hour and a half to reach. Laura ignored the speed limit and drove at breakneck speed. The sky was gradually darkening. Around 7:30 p.m., as dusk was falling, Laura arrived at St. Joseph Beach. There were only a few cars in the parking lot, and the beach was almost deserted. A strong wind was blowing, and the sound of waves echoed ominously. "Emma!" Laura shouted as she ran across the sand. There was no response. Only the sound of waves and wind came back to her. For more than 30 minutes, Laura ran around the entire beach. The sun had set, and it was beginning to get dark. A sense of despair overcame her. Then, she spotted a small shadow in the rocks near the pier. There sat Emma, hugging her knees, shivering and crying. Her face was covered in sand, her skin sunburned, her lips dry, and her eyes streaming with tears of fear. "It's okay. Mommy's here now." Laura rushed over and embraced her daughter. "Mom. I was scared, everyone disappeared. I called out, but nobody came," Emma said between sobs. "How long have you been here?" Laura held Emma's cold hands tightly. "I was building a sand castle with Grandma and them, then they said they were going to get a snack, told me to wait, but they never came back." It turned out Emma had been left alone for more than 4 hours. She was badly sunburned, had nothing to drink, and was exhausted from hunger and fear. Laura took her daughter to the car, wrapped her in a blanket, and gave her water. Emma's body was cold and trembling. Just imagining the terror a 6-year-old child had experienced alone in the darkness made Laura's heart feel like it was about to burst. Holding Emma in the car, anger and determination grew in Laura's heart. "It's okay now, Emma. Mommy will protect you. I won't ever let those people see you again." Emma gradually began to calm down in her mother's arms. However, the shadow of fear in her eyes did not seem likely to disappear easily. "Mom, why didn't Grandma and them come back? Did I do something bad?" Those words shattered Laura's heart. "No, Emma. You didn't do anything wrong. Grandma and them did something wrong." Laura kissed Emma's forehead and vowed never to let her experience such pain again. Laura took Emma to a local emergency medical center. The doctor's diagnosis was mild dehydration, sunburn, and psychological shock. The attending physician spoke in a low voice to Laura. "I understand the child was abandoned alone at the beach. Could you explain the situation in detail?" After Laura explained the situation, the doctor frowned. "This is clearly child abandonment. We may need to report this to the police." While Emma was being treated, Laura called her parents and Christy. Her voice was ice cold. "Emma is in the hospital. Come immediately. Otherwise, I'll report this to the police." 30 minutes later, her parents and Christy arrived at the hospital. Emma was sleeping under sedation. The confrontation in the hospital waiting room was tense. "Explain yourselves," Laura's voice trembled. "How can you be laughing?" Emma was left alone at the beach for more than 4 hours. Frank crossed his arms and said, "It was an accident. Not intentional." Helen waved her hand making excuses. Everyone was tired. "We thought Emma was with us." Christy looked at her nails and said, "You're always so overprotective. We thought she'd be fine on her own for a bit." Laura was stunned by their attitude. There was not a word of apology, nor any sign of accepting responsibility. "This is an accident. What would you have done if Emma had been taken into police custody, or kidnapped, or drowned?" No one answered seriously. Her mother continued to smile. Her father turned the pages of his newspaper, and Christy looked at her smartphone. Laura asked the hospital security to escort them out. "Please stay away from Emma for now. Even after such treatment, you don't think you've done anything wrong. That week, Laura took time off work to care for Emma. Emma suffered from nightmares and became extremely afraid of being alone. They visited a child psychologist, and Emma began trauma counseling. Laura's friend Jessica came to visit and listen to the story. "Laura, this isn't just an accident. There seems to be some intention behind your parents' and Christy's actions. Since childhood, I've been the troublemaker of the family. But Emma too." Laura cried. "Tell me about the past," Jessica said. Laura began to talk about memories she had suppressed for years. The neglect and criticism during childhood. How Christy was always given special treatment, while her own successes were constantly belittled. The cold attitude at her wedding and the "you brought this on yourself" comment during her divorce. The indifference toward Emma. "They don't not love you, they're jealous and angry that you've succeeded," Jessica said. Laura began to reflect on her life and understand her family's behavior patterns. A few days later, she received an apologetic email from Christy, but it contained the words, "But you're partially to blame too." Laura made a decision. "I can't let them hurt Emma and me anymore." She consulted with attorney Sarah Johnson to explore legal options. "This is clearly child abandonment. There are grounds to report this to the police, but are you prepared for a complete break with your family?" Laura thought it over for a night and decided to make a plan. Emma's psychological counselor advised, Emma's recovery requires safety and stability. The relationship with her grandparents is hindering that. Laura reviewed old diaries, photos, and letters, collecting evidence of long-standing family issues. At the same time, she completely cut off contact with her parents and enhanced her home security system. "They have controlled my life. But I won't let them have that power anymore," Laura told her lawyer. 2 weeks passed without any contact from her parents. It came to light that Frank and Helen were telling old friends in their hometown that Laura is overreacting and cutting off contact. Christy was posting sarcastic comments about Laura's overprotectiveness on social media. Laura, together with Jessica, visited her parents' home to attempt a dialogue. Initially, her parents and Christy criticized her exaggerated reaction rather than apologizing. When Laura calmly asked, what was the real reason for leaving Emma behind, silence fell. Frank finally revealed his true feelings. "You've always been more successful than Christy. Always perfect, climbing up on your own. Never relying on us, becoming better than us. And your daughter seemed like she'd turn out the same way. We just wanted to teach her some humility." Helen continued, "You live so well even after your divorce. Without our help. That was so irritating." Christy admitted her jealousy, saying, "You were always special. Always the center of attention. I just..." Laura was shocked, but also felt relief at finally knowing the truth. "So you put Emma in danger because of your jealousy and resentment toward me?" As her family fell silent, Laura quietly stood up. "I came here today to give you one last chance. But it seems that's not necessary." Laura left the house, determined to cut ties with her family. Jessica followed silently. Getting into the car, Jessica finally spoke. "They won't change. For your and Emma's happiness, it's better not to be involved with them anymore." Laura gripped the steering wheel. "I'll do anything to protect Emma." That day, she resolved to truly leave her family behind. Upon returning home, Laura formulated a final action plan. Although Emma's condition was gradually stabilizing, she still suffered from nightmares. Laura wrote 10 sanctions in her notebook and resolved to carry them out. She began with severing the relationship. Working with her lawyer, she created an official, no-contact notice. She submitted a contact prohibition list for her parents and Christy to Emma's school and extracurricular activity venues. She changed the locks at home and installed security cameras. "This is Mommy's decision, Emma," Laura gently explained to her daughter. "We won't be seeing Grandma and them for a while. They hurt Mommy and Emma." Emma looked at Laura with big eyes. "Did Grandma and them forget about me?" "They didn't forget, they deliberately left you behind. That's unforgivable." Next, she cancelled the previously promised assistance plan for her parents' old age. She created documents regarding future care, sending them with the sarcastic note, "In case I forget." She forgot to send invitations to Emma's 7th birthday party to the entire family. She removed them from her Christmas card mailing list. Carefully choosing her words, she posted about her experience on social media. Under the theme, "Why Child Safety Should Be the Top Priority," she stated the facts without naming names. The post garnered much sympathy and support, sparking discussion about the dangers of child abandonment. There are times when children are endangered by family members they trust. In such times, we must make strong decisions. She withdrew her rightful share from the family joint educational fund account and transferred it to Emma's new education fund. She secured the funds legally through her lawyer. She sent bills for Emma's counseling and psychological distress medical expenses to her parents. She continued to send them regularly every month, keeping a record of unpaid bills. She formally reported the child abandonment to the local child protective services. An investigation began, and her parents and Christy lost standing in their local community. Their position at church was also compromised. Through her lawyer, she formally requested to be excluded from her parents' will, along with Emma. She included the clear message, "We are not family, so we have no intention of relying on your inheritance." She deliberately forgot her parents' 45th anniversary. Later, she sent only a brief message saying, "I forgot." Finally, she demanded through her lawyer the return of jewelry and mementos inherited from her maternal grandmother. She requested the digitization of photos of herself and Emma from family photo albums, after which she asked for the physical photos to be returned. Her parents were furious upon receiving the formal documents from the lawyer. Frank made an angry phone call, but Laura responded calmly. "These are the consequences of your actions. The price for putting Emma in danger." Helen sent a message through a mutual acquaintance saying, "We should forgive each other as family," but Laura did not respond. Christy portrayed herself as a victim abandoned by her sister on social media, but many people who had seen Laura's post knew the truth. Even in her parents' church community, their reputation as good grandparents began to waver. As the Child Protective Services investigation began, her parents and Christy started receiving frequent summons. At Laura's workplace, her boss and team members supported her decision. "You don't need to forgive anyone who threatens your child's safety, even if they're family," her boss's words encouraged Laura. Laura began psychological therapy, confronting the family trauma she had carried for years. Emma's ex-husband James, upon learning of the situation, offered to cooperate in Emma's psychological support. "I'll do everything I can as a father for Emma." "I support your decision too," James said. Laura's friends supported her and Emma as chosen family. Everyone gathered for birthdays and holidays, spending warm times together. With the help of her psychologist, Emma gradually recovered and stopped fearing the beach. Laura joined a support group for child abuse survivors and learned from others' experiences. She gained a new understanding that blood ties do not define family. 6 months later, Emma was able to play with friends at school and sleep peacefully at night. "Mom, today Sally invited me to her birthday party. It's a beach party. Can I go?" "Of course, Emma. This time Mommy will go with you." Moved by Emma's courage, Laura was determined to overcome her fears and build a new life. A year later, the Child Protective Services investigation was completed, and an official warning was recorded against her parents and Christy. Laura's social media post was shared among many parents as a child safety awareness article. Rumors circulated that Frank and Helen's 45th anniversary party was a sad affair, with many friends suddenly busy and unable to attend. Christy lost reputation at her workplace and missed an opportunity for promotion. Laura successfully completed a major project at the advertising agency and was promoted. Emma's 8th birthday party was attended by many friends and chosen family, celebrating joyously. As a final sanction, Laura sent a short letter to Frank and Helen. "Recently, Emma and I spent a wonderful day at the beach where you abandoned her. She is no longer afraid. We have moved forward. Without you. Laura." After sending this letter, Laura felt complete release for the first time. During a picnic with Emma, Laura said, "We are a strong family of two. A real family consists of people who love and protect each other." At Emma's words, "Mom, I'm happy," Laura smiled with tears in her eyes. Their new life had finally truly begun. 5 years later, Laura was looking out the window of her office. Chicago's skyline was bathed in the sunset, spreading a beautiful orange scene. A nameplate reading, "Executive Director," gleamed on her desk. After the success of a major campaign, Laura had been promoted to executive director at the advertising agency. Though the responsibilities were heavier, the job satisfaction and stable income brought great peace of mind to her and Emma's lives. "May I knock?" Laura smiled at the low voice from beyond the door. "Come in, Michael." Michael Baker was a tall architect with kind eyes. They had met at a charity event 2 years ago and had been engaged for 6 months. He had built a good relationship with Emma, and they were gradually creating a new family form. "Can you leave early today?" "Emma's swim meet starts at 7, Michael said. "Yes, I'm just finishing up." "Let's go together." Emma had grown into a healthy, bright girl. Having overcome the beach trauma, she was now the ace of her school's swim team. Laura was amazed by her daughter's strength every day. "I'm truly amazed by Emma's strength and resilience," Laura often told friends. "She overcame difficulties and turned them into strength." Meanwhile, Frank had been repeatedly hospitalized for health issues. After a heart attack, he needed major surgery and had fallen into a state requiring care and support. Helen was exhausted from caring for her sick husband alone and was isolated in the community. Former friends had gradually distanced themselves after hearing the story of abandoning their granddaughter. Christy refused to care for her parents, prioritizing her own life. Without financial support from her parents, she was forced to become financially independent for the first time. All three blamed each other, and family relationships deteriorated further. Frank's medical and care expenses rapidly consumed their savings, and they eventually had to move into an expensive nursing home, but there were few visitors. One night, as Laura was helping Emma with her homework, the phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. "Hello, this is Laura Collins." "Laura." It was her mother's voice, which she hadn't heard in a long time. "Your father is critically ill. He says he wants to see you one last time." Laura was momentarily speechless. She hadn't had any contact with her parents for 5 years. "I'll think about it," she answered briefly and hung up. That night, after Emma went to bed, Laura discussed it with Michael. "What are you going to do?" Michael gently asked. "Honestly, I don't know. They put Emma in danger." But the next day, Laura talked with Emma. "Grandpa is sick. He might pass away soon. Mommy is thinking of going to see him." What do you think? Emma thought seriously with a grave face. I don't want to take care of them, but I think it's okay to say a final goodbye. Laura visited Frank's hospital room. She wasn't expecting an emotional reunion. In the hospital room, Frank said in a weak voice, "So you didn't forget?" Laura calmly replied, "Just as you didn't forget me, I haven't forgotten what you all did to Emma." Helen tearfully asked, "Won't you forgive us?" Forgiving and forgetting are different things. I forgive you. But you can never enter our lives again. Christy was waiting in the hallway, but when she met Laura, she said sarcastically, "So you came after all. This completely ends our relationship. After father passes away, don't contact me at all," Laura told her. Christy objected, "In the end, aren't you the same? Abandoning family when they're in trouble." "I don't abandon family when they're in trouble. That's why I cherish Emma. You all abandoned a 6-year-old child without hesitation even when you weren't in trouble. That's the difference," Laura said as she left. Frank passed away a week later. Laura did not attend the funeral. Instead, she held a small memorial ceremony with Emma at the beach. "Grandpa did something wrong, but he lived his own way, didn't he?" Emma said. "Yes. But we chose a different way to live." As time passed, contact from Helen and Christy completely ceased. As a final sanction, Laura only sent a blank condolence flower with the words, "I forgot," written on it to the funeral home. For her wedding with Michael, she did not invite Helen or Christy, celebrating only with her chosen family. Emma participated holding a bouquet along with Michael's nieces. As Emma grew, she developed a strong value that family is not defined by blood ties, but by love. She won first prize in her school's essay contest with the theme, "What is a Real Family?" Laura compiled her experiences into a book. Published under the title, The Abandoned Heart, How to Rise from Family Trauma, the book became a bestseller, giving courage and hope to many people. She also began to work as a spokesperson for a child abuse prevention organization and was invited to many speaking engagements. What I want to say in conclusion is that a true family consists of people who do not hurt you. Love is protection and respect. That's what Emma and I have learned, Laura said in an interview. The boy born to her and Michael was now 2 years old. Their family was bound not by blood, but by choice and love. One summer day, Laura visited St. Joseph Beach with Emma, her brother, and Michael. In what was once a place of fear, Emma now played confidently with the waves. "Look, Mom," Emma called from the sea. "I'm not afraid." Laura smiled with tears in her eyes. They had walked a long road. Recovered from trauma, found new happiness. That terrible day had made them stronger. And above all, it had taught them the true meaning of family. Laura and Emma's story became a catalyst for many people to consider the true meaning of family bonds. It's not about blood ties, but unconditional love and protection, and the promise to never forget each other.